There you go. Gerry Yonchiuk, thank you so much for carving some time out. Obviously, we have a huge game this Friday as Central York goes to Dallastown. And before we jump into a little bit of that, Coach, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit. You've been coaching for decades, over 30 years. I saw you were in New Jersey coaching a few teams. You've been at CD East, you've been to Lebanon, and now you found your home here at Central. Been there the last 4 years. Can you tell us what makes this year's team special at Central?
Uh, they're all special. Every coach tells you that, but the senior group in terms of leadership, right from the very beginning. And when I say very beginning, when we ended last year, we lost to Harrisburg, played them competitively, and they committed to having something special done this year. So I felt like we had a chance to have a good group. I'm just talking about like the character, the combination of work ethic and the how they feel about one another, the bond, all those little. I know they sound like coaching cliches, but you have to have that if you're going to be successful, because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't put it together, you can't piece it together, it becomes more miserable than it does anything else.
Yeah, for sure. And you definitely have some weapons there. Now, I wanted to say this. I know since 2018, Central has been undefeated in the YAI. You've been there since 2020. But going into this Friday's contest, this is undefeated Dallastown.
Mhm.
How do you get your team sparked up for this, or do you even need to?
No, I don't think you need to, because one, even if we weren't at that stage, a lot of these guys are really good friends with one another. They play AU basketball together. They actually hang out together on the weekends. I mean, I've gotten to know Michael Scott over the years, great kid. The Cook kid, he's a great player. He goes on and on. Cody Kissinger, the quarterback, used to play for our program. So
Yep.
I know a whole bunch of them. I really respect Levi, the head coach. He's an East Stroudsburg grad, the Harvard of the PSAC, where I'm a graduate of.
Nice.
So, for them, yeah, everybody should be that way till we get knocked off. So, but for us, I think we look at it as it's another league game. It's a playoff atmosphere game, but
Yeah.
that's good too. So then, they should be a playoff team. I would expect us to be a playoff team. So it preps you for that. So that's how I look at it.
Well, and you've been kind of known as being a quarterback or offensive guru back to your quarterback days at East Stroudsburg. And, I want to talk a little bit about the junior quarterback you got now. Comes in with 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Talk about Brooklyn Nace for us.
Brooklyn is a special guy, and I mean special. He's very intelligent, so has a 4.0 GPA. So he's kind of like, he has the mind of a coach. So if there's an issue that Brooklyn has in the field, if he makes an error, he's so smart and quick to do it, he won't make it again. It's one of those things where he gets more mad at himself than I could get upset with him, because he's a perfectionist that way. It's hard to be a perfectionist as a quarterback because you're never going to be 100%. And that's
Right.
one of those things where you shoot for perfection, but you're not going to do that. But his decision making, I think I first saw it when he was on the basketball court as a 7th grader. And, so the guys understand that the offense goes through Brooklyn. Last year he had 3 picks total for the season. One was bounced off the cage. One was a Hail Mary at the end of the half. And there was another one that was kind of a misread by the receiver and him. But other than that, he really takes care of the football. So, he's completing over 70% of his passes. And I just was sending stuff out today. I feel he's a Division I prospect. And, I don't know what level, if it will be non-power 5 or group of 4 or whatever the heck they have now. But I think the point is he's that type of guy that you can be in the discussion.
Yeah, he's been playing, so poised for years. We saw it again on the basketball court as they won the state championship. Just a very, very confident, very poised young man. Excited to see him, but I want to talk a little bit about the running back duo you have right now. Cameron, of course, Deal, and then Legend Johnson coming in just as a sophomore. Talk about having those two back there.
Well, right now we're only at 1. We're waiting to get Cameron back. He had broken his thumb against Delaware Valley, so he's been out. Legend has kind of come into his own right now because he just gets better and better. When you're a 10th grader and we looked at him on film, I said, can you imagine how much better next year than his senior year? Because I think backs have the most growth. Some people would argue and say, well, no, it's a quarterback. But if your quarterback is established, other than the experience level, I think backs seem to really accelerate, every year. We kind of do it by committee. His brother had banged up his shoulder, Deuce Johnson. So he's out. He's only a freshman. But Jeremiah Hunter, who's been a stud on defense, is a real physical back, and he also plays in there. And then we take Tyler Fry, and move him around, sometimes in the backfield, sometimes out at slot, and he's definitely a weapon.
Well, and talking about weapons, man, we can't talk anymore about weapons without talking about Matthew Parker. And we were doing the game last year when he set the Pennsylvania record, 54 yards for the free kick.
Plenty of leg. He nailed it. Big time.
But how nice is it to have a weapon like that?
Well, you don't take it for granted, because I sit there and I obviously smile every time we tee it up because he's so powerful. He's had 4 or 5 this year that went through the uprights, which is amazing. So he probably tops off at about a 60-yard field goal. He's going to enter Penn State, I believe, in January. And, so we'll be able to see him kick up there with Bo playing the next couple of years. But he's a great person, great mom and dad that have raised him so well. So he's just fun to be around. As a matter of fact, twice the officials before the game said, "Coach, are you guys going to try one of those fair catch field goals?" Because they want to see it. They're like, "We want to be a part of that." I said, "That's cool," because Matthew can do that. And we have a couple younger guys that he's like the player coach on the field helping him out. But it starts with Dan Hagerman. Dan Hagerman's our athletic director, and Dan coaches him. So Dan was a kicker at Lock Haven, and what a blessing that is, because kickers, it's just like if you and I are trying to be like Tiger Woods, not as a player, but we're the teaching pro, you can't have two voices. So I never say a word to Matthew. Dan is an expert at it. I let him help him, and he's really made the progression for Matthew so easy, but he's fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And, can't talk about D1 talent without talking about Saxton. Now, how big of how big is he going to be this Friday going in against, Michael Scott, obviously Cook?
Mm-hmm. But the thing is with Saxton, I mean, he's, going Division I because he is a Division I athlete, and he turned down a couple Power 5 opportunities to play at UConn. They want him to come in early because they feel he can get on the field right away. But that you can neutralize one, you can't neutralize them both. When Michael Scott was a freshman, we were trying to shut down Kenny Johnson. We did a decent job. It was Saxton on Johnson as a sophomore, and Kenny as a freshman hurt us. Because, we knew he was an explosive athlete, but I thought, as a 9th grader, how much are they going to, really get the ball in his hands? Well, he's so explosive and he's so quick. So now you have them both. So we have to try to, pick. It's just like watching an NFL game. Those guys are going to make big plays. It's how many can you give up, or how many can you hold them so they don't get 4 or 5? Because with Dallastown, you catch the ball in the 5, 95 yards later, see you, and that's what we can't do that. Is that going to happen? I'm sure, but it can't happen over and over and over. We have to answer if we do that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Coach Gerry Yonchiuk, appreciate you taking time out this Friday. Make sure you come out to American Legion Field, Wildcat Stadium in Dallastown as Central comes to town against the undefeated Dallastown. Oh, and that's one thing I wanted to say. You guys, in the beginning of the season, went out against Manheim Township. You didn't shy away from one of the best programs, and you got your only loss. Right. How big do you feel like that is going to be when you start going into some of these big battles like Friday?
I think that was huge because they're so physical. Mark Evans is a good friend of mine, and he shared with me, he said, "Coach, I've never had 5 returning starting offensive linemen, and they just punch you in the mouth every play." So in order to handle that, playing Central Dauphin from the Mid-Penn week 1, and then Del Val is a real physical group, from up in not the Lehigh, well, it's north of the Lehigh Valley, still would be considered a Pocono. So when you go out of league and you're playing really physical teams, it can only help you playoffs and then with a game of this magnitude with Dallastown.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. It is going to be a barn burner. And it's this Friday night. Again, come on out, Dallastown, the Wildcat Stadium. If you can't make it, watch it on Sports Shooting Stars. We bring the game to you. Thank you, Coach. Really appreciate it.
Get there early.
We bring the game to you. Contact us, sportsshootingstars@gmail.com.